Good morning, everyone. We are Centers for Spiritual Living Greater Boston, coming to you today live from 50 Dudley Street in beautiful Cambridge, Massachusetts. My name is Reverend Ed Tansey, and I, along with Reverend G. Stewart, are privileged to be the co-founders and spiritual leaders of this wonderful spiritual family. And at this center, we learn and practice the science of mind philosophy, which is the study of life and the nature of the laws of thought. I invite you to go to our website, cslboston.org, to find out more about our spiritual family here in Cambridge, this phenomenal philosophy called the science of mind, and see how our community can serve you, and also how you can support our community through your tax-deductible contributions that you can make by pushing that button, donate button, right online. So before I begin my talk this morning, I would like Rev G to come up and make an announcement.
Yes, one additional announcement.
Yes.
We are currently holding consciousness for our beloved friends at Concordia as their minister, Reverend Ian, is retiring in December. And they are in the process of selecting a new minister, and they just had a visiting minister this last weekend with their community. So we are just holding them in consciousness, knowing that they are making the perfect and right choice for their minister. So we just ask you to join us in that, knowing that as we, in this regional energy that we're building in New England, that we are a part of that as well. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Rev G. All right. So, the clicker. I invite you to play with the clicker. All righty, here we go. So, click up, click. Good. The theme, the 2018 theme for Centers for Spiritual Living is 100 Years of Science of Mind. And September's theme is Spiritual Mind Treatment, the Feeling. And today's topic is Loose the Consciousness. Loose the consciousness. So, as religious scientists, we all know the importance of prayer. And as we have been studying in the last month and a half, roughly, that the spiritual mind treatment is our form of prayer. And really what the spiritual mind treatment deals with is one's consciousness. Is one's consciousness. And, many, many times before you've heard me say that it's the feeling, all of the feelings that we have behind the words that are spoken in a spiritual mind treatment that are so, so crucial for the full realization to manifest. For me, I realize more and more it's that the feelings behind the words that I use in my treatment as I speak that treatment. And that by me having the deep feelings of what I am saying, what's coming out from me, is that I feel I get more bang for the buck, so to speak, as I have these great inner feelings. So I get that bang for the buck from my treatment, from the treatment that I am saying. And as I quote from Rashid Aghanieru, he says, "It's not the world that needs to change, it's our consciousness we must raise." I'm going to repeat that. I think that's so important. It is not the world that needs to change. It is our consciousness we must raise. So you see, when we change our consciousness, when we lose the consciousness in relation to all of the many, many possibilities that exist in that quantum energy field in the world, this is when we will experience change or the desires that we wish to incorporate into our living. And we know that there are infinite possibilities in that quantum energy field, and all we have to do is like go into the store, pick one. It's up to us. There's no limitation at all. So it's very important that we loose the consciousness of limitation. And it states in Living the Science of Mind on page 339, a certain time should be taken each day for the enlargement of consciousness. For the enlargement of consciousness. You know, this is a spiritual practice that is so very important for us to do. We owe this to ourselves. You know, because so many of us at times, and I can raise my hand to this, we don't permit our consciousness to range in that greater field of possibility, in the quantum energy field that does exist. Have any of you felt that at all, by any chance here in this congregation? Okay. So remember, there are infinite possibilities that exist in this quantum energy field. Infinite possibilities. And it really behooves each and every one of us to embrace the vastness of the possibility. The vastness of the possibility. And the more able we are to embrace that and receive that and expect that, the more of what we will experience in this outer world, in our lives here on earth, will be. The kingdom of heaven is already given, people, to each and every one of us. It really is. And it awaits to be perceived. And only as much good can come to each and every one of us as we mentally receive. So it's there, but we have to be in that consciousness of receiving it, of opening up our hearts and our minds to receive all of this great good. Now, our life is our prayer. Think about that. Our life is our prayer. Now, I'm not saying that all the time we are living that we're in that verbal prayer. It's the feelings that we are experiencing as the life we are living, which is the prayer. That is so important. Now, Greg Braden wrote, feeling-based prayer is a form of prayer that transcends any single religion or doctrine and goes directly to the natural ability within each of us to participate in the events of life, healing, and peace directly, responsibly, and effectively. So again, it's the feelings that we experience, that we are paying attention to. It is the power that comes through the feelings. He also wrote, the lost mode of prayer is a form of prayer that has no words, no outward expression, and is based simply in feeling. Specifically, this mode of prayer invites us to feel the appreciation and gratitude in our heart, as if our prayers have already been answered, even if the world appears to show us otherwise. Wow. When I saw that, I went, so true. So this is what we do when we give a spiritual mind treatment. We have appreciation, we have gratitude in our hearts, as if our prayers have already been answered. And then we release the prayer. Where do we release it? To the They are good students. Into the Lord. We release it into the Lord, getting out of the way to let Spirit do its work. I know when I get out of the way, phenomenal things happen. But I have to get myself out of the way. You know, irregardless of how something really might appear, we have the faith knowing that we, each of us in our consciousness, we know what the spiritual truth is. And this is one of the keys for us. The keys for us to rise above what the world might appear to be and go to the truth of how it really is to be. How it is to be. And what does it take? Faith. It takes faith and a rootedness in all that we believe as religious scientists and knowing who and whose we are. So getting back to our consciousness, I want to invite you to join me in this little exercise, if you will. I invite you to close your eyes, sit back in the chair, and if you feel comfortable, let's go within. Take some deep and gentle breaths into your heart space, your inner sanctuary. Relax, clear your mind, and just be for a moment. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. I invite you now to think of a time when you laid on your back and were gazing into the clear night sky. Imagine the sense of vastness you experienced when you were doing this. Feel that experience if you can, as you might have been embracing the vastness of possibility. Inhale and exhale, gently, slowly. Know that when we follow our deepest desire, listen to the voice of our inner knowing, welcome change, and believe in possibility, Spirit is at work, guiding us and showing us the way. This is definitely a working in and of your consciousness. Take a few more deep breaths in and exhale slowly. And gently open your eyes and come back to the now. Welcome back. You know, as we think of all of the infinite possibilities that are ours to have, it just behooves each of us to remember this, that no matter how much good we are experiencing today, we should expect more tomorrow. And we should. And it's this expectancy, this anticipation of better that is yet to come, that really helps each of us to stay focused on the possibilities and dissolve all of the negative thoughts and limitations we put on these possibilities. I feel this is so important and very helpful to remember as we live our lives here in this vibration. So here is a parable I would like to share with you concerning loosening the consciousness and living in the field of greater possibility. And it is by Abraham, and it is called The Storm. Okay? So here's a little story here. So one day, a lady was driving along with her dad, and they came across this storm, and she said to her father, "What should I do?" And he said to her very calmly, "Keep on driving. Keep on driving." So as she listened to him, and as she continued to drive, she started to notice that cars began they were pulling off the side of the road, and the storm kept getting worse and worse. So she said again to her father, "What should I do?" And again he said, "Keep driving, my dear, keep driving." So she was driving more. And then, as she was driving more, she noticed that these large 18-wheeler trucks were starting to pull off the side of the road. The storm was really getting bad. And she finally said to her dad, "You know, I have to pull over. I must pull over to the side of the road. It's terrible, and everyone is pulling over." Her father said to her, "Don't give up. Just keep driving. Now, she listened to him, but she couldn't understand what he was all about at this point, and his wanting for her to still be driving on in this storm as it was continuing to worsen. But she really did. She continued doing it, even though the storm became even more challenging. The storm was really horrific. The longer she kept driving through the storm, a couple of miles more down the road, she noticed she began to see more clearly. And noticing that the storm was lessening. And after a few more miles of driving, she was on dry land and the sun came out. So when this happened, her father said this to her: "Now you can pull over. Now you can pull over and get out." Now this really confused the daughter. And she asked, "Dad, but why not? Why now? Why now you want me to pull over?" And this is what her father replied. He said, "When you get out of the car, look back at all of the people that gave up, who are still in the storm. Because of you never giving up, your storm is now over." You see, people, this is a testimony. It is a testimony for anyone who goes through hard times or experiencing the world in a way that they feel is not great for them. It's a testimony to continue to move on. Continue to move on and go through it. Just because others might give up, even the strongest gives up, we don't have to. Each and every one of us don't have to. If we keep on going, our storm, our challenge, our hard time will be over. And the sun will shine again upon your face. Upon your face. And with this story, I'm going to end my part of the talk. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, Rev Ed. I love that story. It makes you think. It gets you out of the way, right? Because we get in our way a lot, don't we? We do. That's why this talk about loose the consciousness, I think, is just a perfect thing right now. I think it's just such an awesome thing. So, what I want to do with my part of the talk is I want to tell the story of Rev Ed and my journey to loose the consciousness to receive the amazing Integra Anthem coach that we now have. Some of you know that we were not here last week because we were traveling down to Florida in faith, to receive an amazing gift, and we did. So, I want to do this by using the basic ideas used by Reverend David MacArthur, and it has to do with the loaves and fishes. If anyone's familiar with the parable of the loaves and fishes, this is a spiritual principle or spiritual abundance steps to prosperity, which is something that we didn't talk on, but we're familiar with that. It's from Matthew 14, verses 13 through 21, and it's about when Jesus fed the multitude with just 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes, right? Talk about faith, right? Because his disciples were looking at him like, "You got to be nuts. We got 5,000 people here, and you got 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish? How are you going to feed people with that?" But he had faith, and he knew it. So that's what this is about when we talk about loosing the consciousness. It's about that. So it begins with awareness. And I love how he puts this in here, this Reverend David. He does such a great job with this. It begins with awareness. So Jesus asked that the 5 loaves of bread and the 2 fishes be brought to him to bless. That was the first step. So we become aware of what's going on around us. So this is about becoming aware of what is already provided by the divine. Right? We have to start there. That's where we have to start. So we had to become aware of what was possible for us. And we did this by looking at many different motorhomes. So we're going back to the story of our trip for the motorhome. So Rev Ed loves to go online and look at the new possibilities or new levels of consciousness that are available in motorhomes since we began with the travel trailer and have moved our way up through a 32-foot coach, a 38-foot coach, and now a 43-foot coach. We have moved into a grand and glorious idea. But he loves to do this. This is sort of his joy, to be able to do this. So at this point we were building a consciousness of a diesel pusher. We wanted to move into the next level of coach, which is what's known as a luxury coach. So it's a step above what the normal motorhome is. And so we had to build the consciousness of possibility for that. We had to work with our minds to build into that. This also included looking at finances and working with numbers on the physical level. And those are all important things. You know, we don't just jump out there and say, oh, I'm living in possibility and use our charge card, right? We have to be conscious of what's going on. So what we had to do, now this is Rev Ed's specialty when it comes to finances and all that kind of thing. This is his specialty. I depend on him for that because my place is in consciousness, his place is in the consciousness of abundance in the way of the finances and the figures. So we found this coach. We found it in Orlando, and we found it when we went down in August for our ordination panels and decided this should be our ordination gift to ourselves. Because when we sat in that coach, we felt something really special and just felt like this is a place of where I want to be in consciousness. You know, Ernest Holmes traveled everywhere in first class. He didn't live small. He lived large. Because if I am living in a true belief of what we teach, then I should be living large. I shouldn't be living small. Because how am I glorifying the divine presence by living small, right? So, all right, so then there is serenity. Now, I think this is a really good point. So serenity is like when Jesus told the multitude to sit on the grass. Just sit on the grass, right? Because they were all like standing, milling about, and they were all hungry, and you know, he had these 5 loaves and these 2 fishes, and he said, just sit down. So what he's doing when he does this is he's setting a spiritual, he's telling them in a way to set their spiritual practices. Sit in your spiritual practices. So we have to sit in our spiritual practices. So that quiets the limiting voices in our heads, right? When we do our spiritual practice, that's when we get ourselves out of our way. It's so powerful when we do that. So it's also about, it's not about so much about eliminating them, but it's about bringing them into balance, because we need that balance. We need that sort of yin and yang energy to keep ourselves in balance. You know, because we're living in a human experience. We're going through the human experience, which has an appearance of duality. But we know that the divine truth is there is no duality. And that's what our spiritual practices bring us back to. So it also helps to do, what I have to do is I have to help Rev Ed get into alignment sometimes, because he sometimes loses his cool in certain situations. Not that anyone here would know that. But anyway. so this, yes. But that's the beauty of being in relationship too, is that we have the opportunity to grow together, right? When we're in relationship. And relationship isn't just, you know, love relationship, but it's all relationships. You know, work relationships, all the different things. So I had to help him quiet those voices that were limiting. And this began by making negotiations and arrangements to buy the coach and pick it up. So it started there. You know, so we had looked at everything looked good, we were in the right place. So in this case, we were moving forward even when the funds for a down payment did not seem to be coming forward. We left in faith. driving our coach down there. And in serenity, knowing in a peaceful place, I'm more likely to bring forward those things that I desire than I am when I'm in a place of angst and, twisted up inside, because I don't want to be there. So we got in the coach, we drove it all the way down there, and we even drove it down there knowing that, we might even be driving the same coach back. And that's okay too. Because that's what faith is about. It's about looking at everything and saying, am I willing to do this? And so we were willing to do it, and we did it. So now it moves on to the next step, which is moving on to acceptance. In the case of Jesus, it was accepting what was there, right? Accepting what you see as being there. This is it. This is what I see. But then it's moving beyond that. And it's not complaining. And he didn't complain that there wasn't enough bread and loaves and fishes, right? He didn't complain. He looked up to heaven. He looked up to the infinite. And I'm not talking heaven is up there. We know that. Heaven is within, right? Jesus even tells us that in the Bible. That the heaven is within. So we have to remember that it's like within us all the time. So we have to move into that place. So during our journey down to Florida, there was plenty of opportunities for complaining. As it still seemed that all the pieces had not fallen into place as we were driving down. Driving through the night, which we love to drive through the night because it's like less traffic. And if I want to rest, and if there's more traffic, I can pull over and I can rest because I've driven through the night, which is good. Kind of like the storm we just heard about, right? Driving through the storm, keeping it up. So it seemed that the pieces had not fallen into place, namely the money for the down payment had still not appeared. We still kept moving in faith and made the journey to the dealership as if everything was ready. That was big. We postponed, but we said, no, we're driving in. So we went into the dealership, we drove this 43-foot Dream Coach and learned all the things we needed to do to fully enjoy this Dreamliner on the road and on camping, or as I like to say, glamping, but this is even beyond glamping, I think. And the many options and remote controls it had. As many of you know, Rev Ed has such a thing about technology. And this coach has a remote control for just about everything in it. Or a panel to open and close the shades. We even have a remote control to push the slide outs when you park the coach. So, I mean, it's truly an amazing thing. So you can just imagine that it took Rev Ed about 5 minutes at one point to open the shades in one of the rooms that he was trying to do. So he was standing there, and we had gone down with his cousin Sandra, and she was like going, here I am going in and out with stuff into this coach, and Rev Ed is just sitting there going like, looking at the buttons trying to get the window shades to go up or down or whatever he was trying to do. So, which has lessened, fortunately. So he's doing much better with all of that. So acceptance requires us to step out in faith that faith that passes all understanding. After all, that we had to delay the completion of the closing of the deal. So we had gone on through all of this, what they call the demo, which is when they teach you all the different things. We'd driven it, we'd done all of that. And still there was that appearance that money had still not shown up. So the dealer was very understanding of this. Apparently this is not an uncommon thing. And they said, no problem. Park your coach in our lot, and stay here until everything comes through. So we did. Now, the gentleman who showed us the coach was really wonderful, and he said, this is your coach. This is your coach. Even though we hadn't completed the complete deal. We hadn't dropped the check on the table. We had our trade in, but we still needed to drop the check on the table. But he said, you need to sleep in it tonight. He said, you need to sleep in this coach tonight. You need to move into this coach. And we'll get you a car. So you can drive around and do what you need to do. You want to go to Tampa? Go to Tampa. We'll get that for you. We'll make sure that's all in good order for you. So this is when Rev Ed started to get into a place of like going, oh no, I don't feel right about this. We haven't done our due diligence. We haven't completed our part. And yet this is where I had to remind him, the universe is handing you life on a silver platter. And you're going, oh, but I can't. We can't do that. But how often do we do that in our life, right?
All the time.
All the time. The universe hands us things, and we just go, oh, really? No. No? So he released that. He let that go. And together we were all willing to step into that. So we were able to, we ended up staying in this parking lot for quite a long time. We basically moved all of our stuff into this coach. Not owning it. Depending in faith that this was going to happen. So we enjoyed it. We stepped into the joy of it. And that was the option that was offered. Now, there was at one point where the salesman said, oh, how's everything going, you know? And he said, yeah, we're all moved in. And he's like going, you're all moved in? It's like, yeah, well, you know, the guy who showed us the coach said we could go ahead and move in. And he was like, oh, okay, well, I just won't tell my manager. And we're like going, uh-oh, what's going on, right? So we're staying in this coach. And we're trusting and knowing. So we then had to move into a state of love, as Jesus did. When we look to the heavens, and we know that that the divine desires this for us, we continue to look to the heavens and know that the divine desires this for us, that this is something that's absolutely supposed to happen. This is really where the feelings empower the shift to take place. You know, because this is about the feeling. This whole month has been about spiritual mind treatment and the feeling, which is what really gives it the power, which is what really knocks it out of the park. So, basically, we had to raise our consciousness. And I think by sleeping in the coach, by living in the coach, by being in that coach, even before we had completed the entire deal, we were building a consciousness. You know, it's like if you want to buy a car, you need to go out and test drive cars to set a consciousness. And we were blessed that this opportunity allowed us to be in that place so we could really shift and work on our consciousness. So we began to move into this new coach. This led us to coming up with other ways to complete the deal, because the one that appeared was not showing. So we had to go through several different possibilities in order to figure our way of getting on the road, because we didn't want to stay in the parking lot for the next 3 or 4 days if the appearance of this down payment had not shown up. So then we had to give thanks and move into gratitude. Jesus, just as Jesus did before, you know, when he broke the bread and he blessed it and he gave thanks for the multitude being fed, this is living as if it's done. And that's what we were doing. We were living as if it's done. As if it was already completed. We at this point were already living in the coach, enjoying all the good that came with this new consciousness. So we were already in that place. We then had to release any possible limitations. Do we not have to do that in our life all the time? You know, just as Jesus, when he broke the bread, he broke the bread. He broke through a new paradigm. He broke into a new paradigm. We have to break out of our old ideas, just like Barbara shared about her song. Letting go of the old ideas, whether they be good or bad. Because sometimes the good can hold us back. Oh, I had the greatest moment of my life, and I can't imagine anything better than that. Wow, what did I just set in consciousness? Right? So we break through that. We break through that. So after looking at the several different options to complete the deal and drive home, we worked through everything and knew we had to ask. Right? If we don't ask, how can we receive? You know, I think of the gentleman who as a community, helped him furnish his apartment.
Yes.
You know,
Ed,
Yes.
Ed.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, Ed. I should know that, right? Yes, thank you. So I mean, but he was willing to ask, and when he asked, I said, "Thank you for asking," because we need to ask. So we asked. So we had looked at everything, and even though the instructions to complete the deal had said this option wasn't available, we chose to ask anyway. And we offered our solution to several different people in the dealership. And as we continue to offer that and say, this is it, we really need to get on the road, we really need to move on, we really need to get going, we finally spoke with it was Victor. And Victor is a man, he's the finance guy at the dealership, but he's a man of unlimited possibility thinking. And he came up with a solution saying, yes, we can do that, and then you take care of something on the back end. So everything fell into place. We were able to complete the deal, write the check for the license, all the different things that we needed to do, and give what was necessary to hold that place at the down payment so that we could drive home. And we drove this coach home. Owning this amazing coach after spending 4 nights in the dealer's lot in the Dreamliner. Thankfully, the Dreamliner was like a luxury hotel room, so it was like you didn't really notice that there was all these people power washing things all around you and everything, because this is where they prep the coaches to go out. So we were in that, but it was really amazing. It was powerful. So what I want to share with you now is I want to share with you the pictures of our beautiful new Integra Anthem. It's a 2015. Isn't she lovely? And you know, it's not about this, it's about what it brings in the way of the feeling of it. That's what we have to remember here. It's not so much as like, ooh, all that, you know. It's about the feeling of it and what that brings to both Rev Ed and I. There we are. This is actually the lot where we spent most of our time in the dealership when we weren't driving their car that they offered us around to go shopping and things like that. This was actually, we had gone on Sunday, we went to the Orlando CSL,
Our home
and where the school of ministry is, and they all came over and we had a little party in the coach before we owned it. So you can see, it's like everyone was having a good time, and we were toasting the
baby.
And the babies have found their place in the coach. They said, this is our niche.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, between the sofa and the dining room table, they have found their niche, so they're very happy with it. And so, like, here's the bedroom here, and above the headboard is you can actually lock and unlock the coach. You can open the blinds, you can dim the lights, you can do all kinds of things just from the bed. And then, of course, that's that living area without everybody in it. A full shower, a beautiful shower. It's a home on wheels. And so it is stepping into consciousness, right? This is what we did. This is what we did. We chose to step into consciousness. And we chose to step through in faith even when the fears were saying, who do you think you are? How many of us have heard those voices, right? Who do you think you are? You are a divine child of perfection, wholeness, and completeness and abundance, and you need to live it.
That's right. Yeah.
Would you agree with me?
Yes.
We are worthy of this. The important thing to remember, and I want to say this again because I think it's important, is it's not about the thing. In this case, the thing is a divine Dreamliner, which we have, but it's really the experience that it brings, because that's where the feeling comes from, right? It's that experience. So it's about stepping into the greatness that we can be. We feel a sense of joy, peace, security, and wonder in this beautiful coach. And it's now up in Maine. We're doing the last 2 weeks up in Maine. But it's just so amazing. and everyone comes and they look at it and they just feel so wonderful. And we welcome everyone because I want to help other people build the consciousness. I want to help others step into their abundance, whatever that looks like for them. It may not look like this to them. It may not look like this to you. But to us, this is how it looks. So you have to find your mental equivalent of where you want to be in abundance and consciousness. Right? Because we're worthy of the kingdom. So it says in the Bible, and I love this quote because I think this is so powerful. It says in the Bible, therefore I say unto you, all things whatsoever ye pray and ask for, believe that ye have received them, and ye shall have them. That's a promise. Why aren't we living the promise? We need to live the promise. So find your dream. Find your desire. Step into it fully and feel your way into the fulfillment of that dream. Because that's what it's about. And one thing I want to add too is that we don't do this, and I said this earlier, we don't do this by spending what we don't have. We do this by expanding our consciousness. And our consciousness offers us the gifts, offering us the opportunity to say, this is what we can do, and the dealership saying, yes. Ask. Right? So this week, will you join me in feeling into our dreams?
Yes.
Yes! All right. Namaste. So if you'll join with me in prayer. It's quieting the mind. Just allow yourself to move to a place of what you desire. A place, a dream you desire to experience. What does it feel like? What does the experience bring? So the purpose of this treatment is to ground and affirm and claim the dream that is being held by each one here to come into full and complete fruition in each life. So here is what I know. That there is one infinite universal source, one creative substance, one universal, perfect, whole, and complete presence that I call the Mother, Father, God that answers to so many names. This universal energy, this creative source, this abundant, overflowing good that I call the Mother, Father, God is awake and aware and alive in all of creation, for it is the quantum possibility field. It is the scientific principle. It is the absolute reality with a capital R. It is the all-good desiring to express itself in its creation. Therefore, I know that I am absolutely one with this, for I am a creation of this divine energy. Every cell of my being vibrates oneness with this divine reality. Every dream that I hold is held in the same divine mind. I am so grateful in knowing that this mind is not only in me, but it is in each and every one in this room, and it is in all who are joining us on Facebook, and it is in and through and as all throughout the cosmos, for there is no separation whatsoever, but the one absolute universal life that is absolute joy, absolute perfection, absolute wholeness, absolute completeness right here and right now. I claim it, I declare it, I know it is absolutely the truth. That each one is one with this one. And it is from this place of knowing this oneness that I declare and I claim for each one here that there is a divine realization bringing forth this absolute dream that each one is holding right here and right now. That the divine has said yes, that the divine is providing all that is necessary for the abundant, overflowing good that is the life of each one here. And I release and I surrender and I let go of all that may be limiting that fulfillment right here and right now. I release it into the light of the love of the divine that says yes and releases and dissolves all that is unnecessary. All of the old limiting ideas. And I break through to a new paradigm. A desire for the fullness and the wholeness of life as it is fulfilled in my life and each one here. I declare and I claim these dreams as true right here and right now. For it is the divine desire to give the gift. And I accept that gift now. And so in accepting that gift, I can move into a place of gratitude, knowing it is already done, living as if it is complete. Because that is how the divine works. It works in joy. It works in peace. It works in abundance. It works in all things. And so I am grateful for this perfect outworking, this perfect outpicturing, this perfect expression that I know it is the Mother, Father, God's good pleasure to give to each and every one. This kingdom, this good, this life, and living in that joy. I can just release these words. I can let them go. I can surrender them into the activity of the law, where I know the law has received this word and made it so. The law just makes it so. And so I just let it be. And I say, Amen, blessed be, Ashe. And join with me in saying, and so it is. So let's join together in the affirmation. I am open to receiving more of life's unlimited greatness. And that comes to us from Reverend Linda Fisher, Global Truth Center, Los Angeles. Let's read that again.
I am open to receiving